Welcome to Matters Financial and Geopolitical from the Frontier. I trust you're looking forward to the Easter break. I surely am. I think I'm going to take myself off to the Nairobi National Park and see what's going on in there. My Layla, who's my middle daughter, is back, and it's so pleasant having her. She stays up very late and she's not awake in the early morning, but it's just nice to have her in the house. It's such a pleasant feeling. Macro thoughts, trade war effect. Oil has surged but came off yesterday. Stocks have slumped since Trump announced his US tariffs. This is interesting. Google search trend data for the term Bitcoin across regions. Kenya ranks 26th out of 30 worldwide. But interestingly, in a previous report by Citi, they were saying that as a percentage of GDP, Bitcoin trading in Kenya ranks 5th. One of the biggest market stories in Asia today, Indian bonds. You almost never see a move of this magnitude in sovereigns. Caught a lot of people on the wrong side. Big bullish move. Home thoughts, life goes on, hopes rise and dreams flicker and die. Love plans for tomorrow and loneliness thinks of yesterday. Life is beautiful and living is pain. Hunter S. Thompson. I keep hearing this song in the back of my mind. I'm sure it's on a film soundtrack. The Shirelles. Will you still love me tomorrow? Odzala Kokorua National Park in the Congo is one of the most extraordinarily diverse places on the planet. From encountering wild forest elephants to searching for gorillas, Odzala Kokorua National Park in the Congo is one of the most extraordinarily diverse places on the planet. I'd love to go and have a look. Political reflections, another quote from Hunter S. Thompson, citing Matthew 7:15. Beware of false prophets which come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravening wolves. I take you back to August the 2nd, 2017, in an op-ed written by Ambassador John Bolton. He said then in the Wall Street Journal, some sort of strike is likely unavoidable unless China agrees to regime change in Pyongyang. So we've got that to look forward to. Meanwhile, Kim Jong-un visited China. This is a bit of video footage I came across. You can see the body language, the reception gives a lot away. Kim Jong-un also said the DPRK is willing to have a dialogue with the United States and hold a summit of the two countries. He'd been very quiet in that regard for a while. At the invitation of Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the Central Committee of the Communist Party of China, and Chinese President Kim Jong-un, Chairman of the Workers' Party of Korea and Chairman of the State Affairs Commission of the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, paid an unofficial visit to China from March the 25th to March the 28th. During the visit, Xi held talks with Kim at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing, held a welcoming ceremony for Kim before their talks, and they also, together with their wives, watched an art performance together. We speak highly of this visit, Xi told Kim. At present, the Korean Peninsula situation is developing rapidly and many important changes have taken place, Kim said, adding that he felt he should come in time to inform Comrade General Secretary Xi Jinping in person the situation out of comradeship and moral responsibility. Xi made 4 proposals concerning the development of China-DPRK relations. Firstly, continue giving play to the guiding role of high-level exchanges. That's interesting. Secondly, make full play of the time-tested valuable practices of strategic communication. Third, actively advance peaceful development. Fourthly, cement the popular will foundation for China-DPRK friendship. I've spoken a lot about this and written about it, and I still feel it is entirely unlikely that the West has anything to offer the Chinese that can compensate them for the loss of their hinterland, their buffer, and their instrument of attack. One of those myths I wrote in September last year is that Xi Jinping, with some cajoling, can be made to effect a clean break with Pyongyang. Consider that Pyongyang is a buffer state between China and the US, and that Pyongyang is in fact a near-perfect geopolitical attack dog. The attack dog is not on a Chinese leash, but it's surely aligned with this resurgent rising China, whose aim is to surely eject the US and its allies from what it considers its sphere of influence. Just take a look at the South China Sea, where the US and its allies have largely capitulated, and the US is now left performing some half-hearted, and quite forlorn FONOPs once in a blue moon. North Korea, by lobbing those missiles over Japan, is seeking to prize Japan away from its US alliance, something that China is surely trying to achieve as well. When you look at geopolitical alignment, it is entirely unlikely that the West has anything to offer the Chinese that can compensate them for the loss of their hinterland, their buffer, and their instrument of attack. 12th of February this year, I was talking about how President Moon River will be in Pyongyang before he can pronounce Kim Yo-jong correctly. I was saying that Russia always had their back. China was never interested in bringing him to heel. And I was also then reflecting on the fact that he'd sent his sister as an emissary to Seoul. And I quoted Lao Tzu, water is fluid, soft and yielding, but water will wear away rock, which is rigid and cannot yield. Whatever is fluid, soft and yielding will overcome whatever is rigid and hard. This is another paradox. What is soft is strong. I was saying then in February, South Korea is set to be peeled off, and going by his puppy dog smiles, President Moon River will be in Pyongyang before he can pronounce Kim Yo-jong correctly. Russia always had their back. China was never interested in bringing him to heel. After all, he is the buffer state between China and more than 30,000 US soldiers parked on their doorstep in South Korea. Going back to September 2017, when he was launching missiles with abandon, I wrote a piece, "As Screaming Comes Across the Sky." I was talking about Gravity's Rainbow, which is a book by Thomas Pynchon, which is about the design, production and dispatch of V-2 rockets by the German military. In particular, it features the quest undertaken by several characters to uncover the secret of a mysterious device named the Schwarzgerät, the black device, slated to be installed in a rocket with the serial number 00000. As the world watches Pyongyang, I cannot help wondering if Kim Jong-un has read Pynchon, which speaks of a screaming comes across the sky, and it is a curve each of them feels unmistakably. It is the parabola. They must have guessed, once or twice guessed, and refused to believe that everything always, collectively, had been moving toward that purified shape latent in the sky, that shape of no surprise, no second chance, no return. And then in November 2010, I wrote a piece, "Far away in distant lands lies the hermit kingdom. They all have had tiny little hands like the elves and the shoemaker. And this country has nuclear weapons, and on its border with its neighbor South Korea sit 25,000 American soldiers. Exclusive satellite images reveal show of force by Chinese Navy in South China Sea." That's via Reuters. August 2017, I wrote a piece, "China Rising," and I said then China has established control over the South China Sea. has created artificial islands and then militarized those islands. Alessandra Sanguinetti posted this photograph on Magnum Photos, the March for Our Lives Courthouse Square. That took me back to Youthquake, which is defined as a significant cultural, political, social change arising from the actions or influence of young people. Facebook would have the information about exactly what they did. This is Carol Cadwalla quoting from the parliamentary interrogation yesterday. 26th of March, I said, sell Facebook. Actually, I said it earlier, but that's my weekend piece when I can write whatever I fancy. And Facebook, this is from Rafi Kadian. Facebook, huge down here. Careful if we close below 150, which is my target, which we actually hit. Facebook is one broken chart for now, says LMT 978. If you're interested, it closed $152.2, down 4.9%. Badra Kumar says the expulsion of Russian diplomats portends troubled times. The mass expulsion of Russian diplomats by some countries of the European Union and North America on Monday is an unprecedented and intriguing development. First, the US alone accounts for some 2/3 of the expulsion, 60 diplomats. Badra Kumar asks, is it a massive diversionary tactic by the White House the day after porn star Stormy Daniels took Trump's pants off in her TV interview in 60 Minutes? Indeed, a range of explanations is possible as to what really might have happened in Salisbury. Read an excellent analysis by the respected British scholar on Russia, Richard Sakwa, Professor of Russian and European Politics at the University of Kent. And the article is called The Skripal Affair. And he says in that, why would the Russian authorities want to kill him? How would it benefit them? Especially in conditions where relations are so bad anyway. If they wanted him killed, there are easier ways, unless, of course, it was for the demonstration effect and to alienate the British government even more. These may well be considerations among parts of the Russian security elite, angry at Skripal's betrayal of a reputed 350 Russian agents. New Zealand, however, cannot find any Russian spies to expel. International markets, this is a longer-term chart from J.S. Blockland. Stock markets since the low in 2009 in one chart. Wow, yesterday was the worst day ever for FANG, tweeted Joe Biesenthal. The NYSE FANG index tracking the FANG block and its mega-cap brethren tumbled 5.6% in the biggest rout in data going back to September 2014. Twitter led the plunge with a 12% decline as all 10 index members retreated. Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, and Google's parent Alphabet all slumped at least 3.8%. The FANG index has advanced from early 2016 through this month's peak, reached an annualized rate of 67%, outpacing even the Nasdaq's return in the final 2 years of the dot-com bubble. It's been such a good performer that at this point it's kind of on the defensive. There are so many people with so many gains in technology. Tesla's shares tanked, as did Tesla's bond, which got hammered as well. Let's move on to the currency markets. Euro dollar back above 124, 124.04, dollar index 89.29, Japanese yen 105.60, Swiss franc 0.9474, the pound 141.95. That's been in a good uptrend of late. Australian dollar 0.7692, India rupee 64.985, South Korean won 1066.61, Brazilian real 332.59, Egyptian pound 17.6530, and the rand is at 0.6474. This is a dollar index chart from Adam Mancini. My stop is still at 88. Euro versus the dollar. Here I think the rally is capped at 125.60. We never even got there anyway. We're currently at 124.04. Commodity markets, gold 1342.50 trading has come off a little bit of late. WTI crude oil, which it was the best performing asset after Trump's tariffs announcements, actually had a bad day yesterday. Now trading at $64.70. Cocoa prices, however, have surged by a third this year. SoftBank's Masayoshi Son says the 200 gigawatt solar park in Saudi Arabia will create 100,000 jobs. The Philippines is Asia's worst stock and currency market this year, 6% slump in the benchmark index, combined with a 4.6% slide in the peso, means US dollar-based investors are looking at double-digit losses. Year-to-date, foreigners pulled more than $500 million from shares after inflows of $1.1 billion in 2017. Sub-Saharan Africa, who sold the most weapons to African governments in 2013 to 2017? The answer, interestingly, is Russia 39%, China 17%, USA only 11%. The three largest importers in Africa were Algeria, 52% of African arms imports, Morocco 12%, and Nigeria 5.1%. Sub-Saharan Africa, Nigeria, Sudan, Angola, Cameroon, and Ethiopia were the top five. They accounted for 56% of arms imports to the sub-region. After a long day of wild speculation and uncertainty, the EPRDF Council elected Dr. Abiy Ahmed as EPRDF chairman and Ethiopia's next prime minister. I was going through the Twitter feed and saw this from Abba Kayo. Ethiopia gets its first Oromo leader, somebody openly self-identifying as such. What's the big deal? It is, however one spins it, the Oromo street has been bleeding to change the foundations of entrenched power in Ethiopia. Finally it has done so. Ethiopia won't be the same again. I take you back to something I wrote in 2016, in October, when I said the government needs to change tack and effect a course correction. And history shows us that this course correction is one of the most difficult things to pull off. They're still working on that course correction. Zimbabwean President Emerson Mnangagwa will pay a state visit to China from April 2 to April 6 at the invitation of President Xi Jinping. Africa needs leaders with vision who can dream for the future of their nations, Emerson Mnangagwa said. Many Zimbabweans predicted upon the death of her husband she would waste no time to flee into a life in exile. She's not safe here, said Shaw. She would be stoned if she set foot in town. Tanzania, enemies without and within, Africa confidential. The president's authoritarian measures are meeting increasing resistance, but he is set on course and has made ugly threats against dissenters. Halfway through his first term, President John Pombe Magufuli is under pressure, facing a mainstream political threat from the opposition Chama cha Demokrasia na Maendeleo, Chadema, civil society groups, church leaders, and now young people on social media. He appears to be relishing the confrontations. The state also feels threatened by armed groups killing government and party officials in the Pwani region. The official response to both challenges has been of a ruthlessness rarely seen before, which has been attracting widespread and alarmed condemnations from all sides. Among the people charged in connection with fraud and illegal transfers of money in Angola are the former president's son, the former central bank governor, ruling party spokesman, and the army chief of staff. State prosecutors have done their job, now it's on you, the court, says Zena Damzed. 2nd of January, I said I like what I'm seeing in Angola. My wife says it's because his back's against the wall and they're probably broke, but at least he's making a change. 19th of February, I wrote about the wind of change. Massmart is to open 20 stores in Pan-African expansion. We're very bullish about Africa, sub-Saharan Africa as a whole, Husseini Dlamini told Reuters. This year alone, we'll be opening 8 new stores on the African continent. In the next 3 years, we'll be expanding our retail trading space by 35.6%. New stores are due to open in Kenya, Ghana, Mozambique, Zambia, and Swaziland. South African all shares down 5.8% this year. Dollar versus rand, last trading at 11.6474, top of the range for the Zahar. Prefer to buy it a little bit lower down. Nigerian all shares up 7.84% year to date. Ghana Stock Exchange, as we all know, best performing index in the world, up 28.2%. Coming to Kenya was a Kenyan opposition figure detained in an airport toilet after refusing efforts to deport him. When he tried to return on Monday, Miguna was denied entry at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, and plainclothes police officers tried to hustle him onto an Emirates airline flight bound for Dubai without any papers. Witnesses said after Miguna protested that failed, on Tuesday his lawyer Nelson Havi tweeted that the opposition figure was currently detained in a toilet at Terminal 2 arrivals and has been denied access to his lawyers. Justice Rosalind Aburili ordered Miguna's release, noting that he was being held incommunicado, and directed him to appear in court on Wednesday morning. The airport confrontation, and this is the point, came 2 weeks after a surprise meeting between opposition leader Odinga and Kenya's president as they announced a new initiative to heal the East African nation after months of sometimes deadly election turmoil. 8 independent columnists at Nation Media Group resigned en masse, #NMG Exodus. This is George Kegoro, Muthoni Wanyeki, Gabriel Dolan, Ras Nawara, Maina Kiai, Fromage Home, Kwamchetsi, and Gabriel Lynch says. We refuse to continue to clothe the loss of editorial independence and media freedom at the Nation Media Group with respectability. Look, Nation Media is up 6.66% in the last 2 trading sessions, narrowed the year-to-date loss to 4.31%, and essentially the investors are making the calculation that they've been a thorn in the government side, and their resignation will allow the nation to recalibrate its relationship with its biggest customer, which is the government of Kenya. Kenya shilling 100.93. Nairobi all share up 11.3% this year, hit a record every day last week. Now we are in a 2-day correction, maybe we'll get a third. NSE 20s up 2.97% year to date. Lots of rumors about Abraj Group. They've been tweeting about Java, 60 plus stores, 3 brands. A look at Abraj partner company Java House's growth across Africa. So interesting interview. EABL rallied 1.11% yesterday to close at the 2018 high of 264, and it's up 10.924%. Year to date, I think it's targeting 280. Kenya Orchards reported full year earnings per share was up 51.724%, traded on a P of 186.363. You'll have to look into those earnings. I don't know enough about the company. Once again, thank you kindly for stopping by. I appreciate it.